to know God through His Word. And that's what we're trying to do on Exploring the Word.
Exploring the Word, weekday afternoons at 3 Central on American Family Radio. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. President Donald Trump held a rally in Michigan Tuesday to celebrate his first 100 days in office. Brooke Singman has more.
President Trump rallied supporters in Michigan, where he highlighted his administration's victories so far. The president also spoke about his plans moving forward.
To further rebuild the industrial bedrock of our country, I've imposed 25% tariffs on foreign aluminum and steel. It's keeping our steel mills going.
Meanwhile, Senate Democrats held an anti-Trump all-nighter on the Senate floor in protest of the president's first 100 days. Today, President Trump will kick off day 101 of his administration by meeting with his cabinet back in D.C.
President Trump was questioned by ABC News about due process for illegal aliens.
We follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major trial for every person that came in illegally.
Even bad guys get due process, right?
If people come into our country illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
Well, they get a process where we have to get them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say.
Florida Senator Ashley Moody is a former state attorney general and judge. She says those on the left who rail about due process don't understand what due process is legally and don't understand the exceptions when it comes to illegal immigration.
There are exceptions in terms of who is eligible for expedited removal, especially when they came in and started designating some of these cartel members and cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And so, look, I am watching, our Attorney General Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, Homan. I am watching these guys work diligently every day, using the law to their advantage and making sure they're removing people as fast as they can that could be a danger to American citizens.
On the second day of the state trial against Memphis police officers accused of beating Tyree Nichols to death, another ex-cop who was there said he regretted how the situation escalated.
Desmond Mills Jr., one of the responding officers, said he regretted not stopping the beating that killed Nichols in January 2023. Mills agreed to testify for the prosecution. But John Keith Perry, a lawyer for defendant Tadarius Bean, said Nichols resisted arrest before being beaten and pepper sprayed, and that Mills told Internal Affairs he made that assessment.
Kicking in the air and moving his arms around and standing himself up and walking around. You said it clearly to ISB, that's active resistance, right? Right.
Mills, despite pleading guilty, could face at least 15 years in prison. Testimony resumes today. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
An organization is keeping tabs on how many medical schools in the U.S. still have diversity, equity, and inclusion offices, despite President Trump's orders to close them down.
Do No Harm has its own DEI tracker, a list of medical schools that still have an office dedicated to campus DEI. AFN connected with Dr. Kurt Maselli, medical director at Do No Harm.
I think it's clear when DEI becomes about ideological overreach, whereby it prioritizes an ideology over merit and enforces group-based thinking and stifles open debate and really engages in unlawful discrimination. It's those types of programs that need to end, and it's clear by executive order and also through the Department of Education and the Dear Colleague letter that came out that institutions really need to cease using race preferences and stereotypes as a condition of hiring or admissions.
He said further that we need to return to those fundamental American principles of focusing on merit, quality, and other things to achieve excellence in our crafts. Maselli explained Do No Harm's DEI tracker has found that a little over 70 institutions have DEI offices.
However, 10 of them should come off, and that's a good thing. They've at least removed those offices from sight, and hopefully they've also, more so removed them from existence as well.
Maselli added he thinks the key to restoring integrity in American healthcare is focusing on excellence and quality. He said if you want to submit a tip to Do No Harm, you can contact his team at donoharmmedicine.org. You can also join Do No Harm in membership there. I'm Bronson Woodruff.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
The cell phone is the new transistor radio. Just like your grandfather may have carried his radio wherever he went, you carry your phone with you all the time, which means you can listen to American Family Radio anytime you want with the AFR app. You'll find live talk programming, 24-hour Christian music, and access to podcasts of all your favorite AFR shows. Just go to the App Store and download the AFR app for free. Your grandfather would be proud.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Wednesday, April the 30th, 2025, in case you were wondering. And we thank you for listening to AFR. Joining me in studio is
What's his name?
Well,
it depends what you're going to say next.
Well, I think three people would be.
Yeah, are three people.
Joining me in studio are, I was talking to myself, Ed. Right
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yeah, but listen.
That's
you want to be the voice in my head? Go ahead. Be the voice in my head.
Listen, I say this to my wife all the time when she's talking to herself out loud. I say, most people, they talk to themselves inside their head. It's called thinking.
and then you find out where you're going to be sleeping that night, right?
We're getting to the age where
be careful.
When you talk to yourself when you're younger, I guess you do it more loudly.
Yeah.
But my wife now, it's not loud enough for me to understand what she's saying.
It's a murmur.
Yes,
Right,
it's a murmur. And so I'm always going, what? I'm just talking to myself.
I do that too. All right, Ed Battagliano, our resident psychologist here.
Nice to know you.
Yeah. All right, Wesley Wildman. Good morning, Wesley.
Morning. A lot of problems here, but talking to myself is not one of them.
Well, as you grow older, it does happen.
You talk to yourself, Wesley, because nobody else is listening. You find out.
Fred Jackson, do you talk to yourself, Fred?
All the time. All the time. In fact, I was just thinking I was going to mention when you were talking, we ought to start a program on American Family Radio, Ed and Wife.
Ed and that would be a great show. You back together.
He has got so many stories.
Right. No more than 30 minutes, and it has to be on the weekend because that would be just enough.
No, Diane, give them an example of how you talk to yourself. Demonstrate that to everybody.
The reason I talk like this about my wife is I know she is not listening.
She gets enough of you at home.
That's right. And so I'm bold as can be, but I know she's not listening.
It might get back to her. But anyway, all right. Thank you for joining us on the program. Abraham Hamilton III will be with us at the bottom of the hour. And then Kathy Branzell, president of the National Day of Prayer, which is tomorrow across our country. Kathy will be with us in just a few minutes also to talk about that. Very important day on our calendar, especially for Christians, the National Day of Prayer. All right, Fred, what's your first story?
I want to start the program today with a hug.
Well, Fred, that's awful nice.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
With a hug.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
The Canadian initiates hugs.
That's right. No, it's a hug on a tarmac in Michigan.
Oh, that hug.
The hug heard round the world.
The hug heard around the world. In fact, the Associated Press story, now this has to do with President Donald Trump. To celebrate his 100 days in office, he went to Michigan yesterday. Air Force One lands. He descends the stairs of Air Force One, and waiting for him is a big fan, tongue-in-cheek. The Democrat governor of Michigan, and her name is Gretchen Whitmer. Now, if you follow the news from day to day, you know Gretchen Whitmer is not a big fan of Donald Trump. But she was waiting at the bottom of the stairs. And President Trump, being the nice guy, reaching out guy that he is, reached for her. And if you go to afn.net, you will see the picture of said hug. And it's an awkward moment. I'm not sure. Gretchen Whitmer, we have the back of President Trump, And we have the hand, we can see the hand of Gretchen Whitmer. I'm not sure if she's trying to shove him away, or is it a hand that says, video. I don't like this, but I have to do it because the cameras are rolling. So they are political enemies, but she was at the airport to greet the president yesterday because he was coming to town with some pretty good news for her state. Number one, he was announcing that he is modifying those tariffs that he has announced in the area of parts coming in from other countries to the automakers. The automakers are very important to the Michigan economy.
Right.
So she was there, glad to get that news that those tariffs are going to be modified to allow these parts of cars coming in from other countries. And also he announced that a National Air Force Base, or National Guard Air Force Base, is getting some brand new fighter jets there in Michigan. So she was happy for all.
We're going to war with Canada now? Or what? What's the deal? Michigan? We got fighter planes in Michigan. Get ready to take on Alberta and Ontario.
No, I like Alberta.
We're going to make them the 51st state, by golly.
Hey, let me add here. I'm watching the video here. The video footage of what Fred just described. She handled herself exceptionally well. It was very cordial. She was very receptive. So, just wanted to add the video footage.
Yeah, it's customary for.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but in 2024, the other team usually doesn't show up at this point for a lot of this kind of stuff.
True.
That's the reason. Obama's wife,
Michelle
Michelle Obama didn't show up.
That's true. I mean, there's Republicans and Democrats. There's a lot of distrust and dislike, and so sometimes governors of various states don't show up for events of the opposing party's president. That happens. I know that President Biden then went to Florida after the hurricane, and Governor DeSantis met him at the airport.
And then President Biden smelled his hair, didn't he? Or is that just that's just
different
women?
One? Well, different.
He
one.
was talking to himself.
Yeah.
Then I think Governor Newsom met President Trump back during the first administration. Well, maybe.
Well, it was the wildfires.
The wildfires.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, he met him at the airport, and they. So it that, but sometimes it doesn't happen. But anyway, so good for her for showing up. Gretchen Whitmer, she's the sitting governor of two-term governor of Michigan. But the hug, I don't know. Do you in the era of Me Too? Do you hug a female governor?
There's 800 people watching, so I don't.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think there's.
Well,
okay,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, in the hashtag Me Too era, I guess we're still in that. Yeah, non-consensual does enter into office decorum, but I think for politics, I think a hug is not considered.
Would he hug Tim Walz?
Would I?
Would Trump hug the governor of Minnesota?
Oh, I don't know. Guys can be. You can do a bro hug.
I think you can hug a woman, and you can't hug a man.
Well, speaking about
I think bro hugs.
Well,
bro
hugs are okay.
Yeah.
No,
all right.
I think
Anyway.
Trump just came back from the Pope's funeral.
Yeah.
And the president of France was there. They always hug. They hug trees. They hug everybody.
You talking about Macron?
Oh yeah.
They hugged?
Oh,
I heard it was cold.
There's huggy all the time with the Europeans,
Yeah, and sometimes kiss on the cheek.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we formed this country was to get away from that. That's a part of Europe we don't want any part of.
It's in the Bible.
I don't care. I don't accept that in my theology. I don't think everything in the Bible.
Greet one another with a holy kiss.
That was for them back then, Ed.
Yeah.
Hey, you brought up Walz. Have y'all seen the headline here at Fox News? Walz says, Harris chose me in part because, quote, I could talk code to white guys watching football and fixing trucks, end quote.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Then Walz said this at his rallies that he's going around called Listening to Her.
Why
he
are you
was
changing
at Harvard.
The subject away from
He mentioned
hugging
Walz.
and kissing?
Oh, now. Yeah, I was trying to save y'all on that one. I did the best I could to segue.
You're talking about the I mean, I brought up Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, which Kamala Harris chose as her running mate,
and he just confirmed why he
was
chosen.
He said she chose me for what reason now?
He's a man's man, apparently.
Quote, these are his words from yesterday. Quote, I could code talk to white guys watching football and fixing trucks, end quote.
Well, I think there are men of color who fix trucks and watch football too.
Right. It's kind of a racist thing.
But I guess she was trying to draw in the white football car fixing crowd.
Yes.
Huh?
I guess so.
To vote
I didn't
for
know
her.
that was a voting block.
That's part of MAGA, they say. You know, so she wanted to cut into that.
So Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, he didn't get picked because he couldn't reach out.
I don't know.
to white
Maybe he
guys?
doesn't like football. You have to ask him.
Yeah.
I guess.
I will.
I just wanted to. You said Walls. I see headline, and I just add comments.
Anyway, this all started, ladies and gentlemen, with a hug that Fred wanted to bring up. That in all seriousness, President Trump was in Michigan. Michigan was one of those states, those swing states that put him over the top. So I think he wanted to go show some love and appreciation for the Michigan voters and announce some good news for their economy. That's the basic reason he went there. And Gretchen Whitmer, to her credit, wanted to be a part of celebrating something good, and that is things that help the economy of her state. And so
that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I also think, I know that there was, I don't know if we talked about it this week. Did you guys talk about the Philadelphia Eagles? Some of them not going.
We talked about some of that.
A little bit.
Not going to the White House. I disagree with that too. I think if you win a championship in a sport and your team is invited to the White House, it doesn't matter who's in the White House, you go out of respect for the office. And I say that as a guy whose hockey team in 2011 got invited to the White House, and our goalie refused to go because the president was Obama. And I disagreed with that. You go if you're invited.
Yeah.
So
I think Whitmer was trying to recover from another embarrassing moment. Remember she went to the White House a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
And they started taking pictures, photographers there, and she held up a piece of paper.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
She, I don't want to be seen with Trump.
Yeah.
She needs, if she doesn't understand going to the White House, you might be seen. Then she needs, I don't know what she needs. She needs some education of some kind. All right, so tomorrow is the National Day of Prayer. It's annual, and the president of the National Day of Prayer is Kathy Branzell, and Kathy joins us now. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning from Washington, D.C. Good to be with you.
Well, thank you for being on with us. Where's home for you?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Well, listen, thanks for being on. How long have you been president of the National Day of Prayer?
Oh, I have had this incredible privilege for 6 years. I've been a part of National Day of Prayer for a long time, just as a prayer and a donor and then a board member. But I've been president for 6 years, but this will actually be my 26th national observance. So I am very grateful.
Yeah, now, Shirley Dobson, the wife of James Dobson, she was the chairman for a long time, right?
25 wonderful years.
Wow. Yeah. Well, so Kathy, well, congratulations, and we want to know what's going to be happening. First of all, tell us what you want to tell us about the National Day of Prayer, and then we'll get into what you're going to be doing there in D.C.
Oh, I would love. A lot of people don't know that it's a law, and so we are so grateful that in 1952, the Reverend Billy Graham stood on the steps of the Capitol and challenged Congress and the president to honor God in prayer in our law. And they took it so seriously that within a few weeks, we had a unanimous vote, and President Truman signed it into law. So this is our 74th observance. And then President Ronald Reagan amended that law for us in 1988, so it would be the same day every year. So by law, every year on the first Thursday of May, the president must proclaim a day of prayer for our nation. And our task force, the National Day of Prayer Task Force, was tasked with the Judeo expression, Christian expression of prayer, to bring together, to mobilize unified public prayer for America. And so you were asking about what's going to happen tomorrow, and our 19,000 prayer mobilizers, we call them missionaries across the nation throughout America, will be hosting tens of thousands of prayer gatherings all across all 50 states and in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. And then we have the privilege of hosting the congressional expression here in Washington, and then our broadcast tomorrow night. So we could talk about all of that.
Well, where is the, what's the website where people can go and see where the National Day of Prayer event is for their community?
Yes, so it's nationaldayofprayer.org, nationaldayofprayer.org, and they just click on the gathering finder and click on their state, and it will show them all the gatherings in their state so they can find which ones they want to attend. We often have people that will go to several different gatherings throughout the day, so that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I know we're having one here in Tupelo, Mississippi, where we are at our city hall at noon tomorrow, and that's happening all across America. Ed, did you have a question?
Yeah. Kathy, of course, thank you for being on with us. What's the theme? You have a theme every year. Tell us about the theme and why this was selected.
Thank you. Yes, our theme this year is Pour Out to the God of Hope and Be Filled. And our theme verse for this year is Romans 15:13 that says, "Now may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that you will abound in hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." And so that came after a long period of time in prayer and fasting. And I was just hearing Christians talk about being hopeless. Things are so hopeless, and we're like, no, God is still on his throne. And the Lord just really put it on my heart to remind people where our hope comes from, and he is our hope. Scripture tells us to be ready with the reasons for our hope when we're asked, and to share them with gentleness and respect. And I'll tell you, friends, we all have the same reason for hope. We just celebrated our greatest reason. Christ is risen, and therefore we are redeemed as his followers, and he currently reigns in heaven at the right hand of the Father, and our greatest hope is he's going to return. And so that is our artwork. If you've seen our artwork, is this beautiful prophetic painting from a good friend in the United Kingdom. Mm-hmm. Don't let that get lost on you. It's not just geographically, but spiritually. And so that beautiful piece of artwork is a picture of Christ's return, the greatest reason for our hope. But pour out to the God of hope and be filled.
Kathy, I sent my artwork in, and I never heard back from y'all, and I don't know.
Maybe next year, friend.
Okay,
Send it again.
That was.
I just want to say, Kathy, on behalf of us all, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for making the decision.
I just wanted to know, because I tell my wife, please check the mailbox every day to see if we heard back.
You hadn't heard that? You hadn't heard that on an interview, have you?
Address, right?
So anyway.
Kathy,
go ahead.
just one last question. And by the way,
I want her to pray for our country.
Yes. Kathy Branzell is our guest, president of the National Day of Prayer. That is tomorrow, folks. Maybe you're just hearing about it right now. It doesn't matter. If you go to nationaldayofprayer.org, you can find out where the prayer meeting is in your area. Please make an effort to go and join that. But Kathy, go ahead and pray. You said that you have been a prayer for a long time, even before you've had this position. You've been involved with the National Day of Prayer for many years. You've been the president, I think you said, for the last 6. But please pray for our nation. And I do think you guys are correct that a lot of people have lost hope for our nation because of the amount of darkness that everywhere that they turn. Please, I mean, if you have any last words of encouragement, but we do want you to pray for our nation before we let you go.
Thank you. Yes, I would ask that as you go out and you pray at the local gatherings near you, that when you get home at night, we're going to have our international broadcast at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And so you can watch that on our website. There is a link that will go live right at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And it's also on many of your favorite television Christian networks. And we are so grateful for all of our partners that carry that broadcast. But it is a chance to connect with over 2 billion. We know for a fact, just in television last year, that 2.1 billion people tuned in to pray.
That's extraordinary.
For us last year and with us. And my co-host, Tim Tebow, who is an absolutely amazing man of God, will be joining us and will be sharing on that broadcast. And so along with many of your favorite pastors and then some members of Casting Crown will be leading worship. And so tune in and watch that either with us tomorrow night in Unity at 8 p.m. Eastern time, or at any time afterwards. We'll have that on our website over the next few months as well for people to watch. But let me do what I love to do most. Lord Jesus, we just thank you for being our God of hope. And we just pray right now, Lord, we know that when we pray that the answer's not far away. We know that even as our words are hanging in the air, we have already moved the heart and hands of God. And so, Lord, we thank you that you call us to prayer, that you say, come to me, all who are weary, that you tell us to pour out our confession, to pour out our praise, to pour out our thanks to you, Lord, and to pour out intercession. Your word says, my God shall supply all your needs. And so, Lord, thank you for being our everlasting Father. And so now, Lord, we pour out to you. Even now, we're not going to wait till tomorrow, Lord. We pray and pour out to the God of hope. And we do thank you that you fill us with all joy and peace, not just a little, not a sliver. Satan's been trying to convince us, and it's the beginning of time that you're holding out on us, but you are holding us. And so I pray for everyone listening that they will be filled with all joy and peace and believing. Lord, we profess our belief and our love in you. And we will walk in joyful, confident expectation. We will walk in our believing and abound in hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Lord, I pray that for everyone who is praying with us today, every listener, Lord, in all of their hurts, in all of their needs, in all of their love for you, may it be poured out as you fill them. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thank you, Kathy. We wish you the best. We'll pray for you all tomorrow in D.C., and thank you for being on with us.
Thank you for the invitation. God bless you both. Take care.
All right, it's Kathy Branzell, president of the National Day of Prayer. We're going to take a short time out right here. We'll be back with more news of the day, including a visit with our own Abraham Hamilton III coming up. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
After he lost a bid for re-election, City Councilman Walter Barrick Jr. of Danville, Virginia, filed a campaign expense account of $79.81. The final entry was 62 cents for aspirin. And every mother knows which side the bread is buttered on. Yeah, the side the kids drop on the kitchen floor. Because his vehicle was getting low on gas, R.J. Burns stopped at a service station in Kannapolis, North Carolina, and said, "Please fill her up." Now, I will admit that there's nothing unusual about that, except that Burns was at the controls of a helicopter and not a car. And here's one. An editor received a story from one of his reporters about the theft of 2,025 pigs from one farmer near Van Horn, Texas. Curious about the large number, the editor called the farmer. "Are you the one who had 2,025 pigs stolen?" the editor said. "Yet I sure am," replied the farmer. "Thanks," said the editor. Well, he rewrote the story to report the theft of 2 sows and 25 pigs. Oh, me. I don't guess you can win them all. By the way, that was a sad story. Then there's the true story of what happened up in Ohio. The residents of Bezetta Township waged war against a chicken farmer whose stock they said was rather smelly. They took their case to court, and while in court they decided that they would satisfy themselves with this sign by the town limits. "Entering Stinkville. Population 72,000 stinking chickens. Unfit for human habitation." Finally, there was out in Longview, Texas, there was a policeman who read the note on the windshield of a car parked in a no parking area. This is what it said. "I have circled this block 10 times, and I have an appointment and must keep it or lose my job. Forgive us our trespasses." Well, the officer wrote a note of his own and left it on the windshield. It read, "I have circled this block for 20 years. If I don't give you a ticket, I will lose my job. Lead us not into temptation." Finally, there was a case of Harry Price in Long Eaton, England, given only a few weeks to live when he received a disability discharge from the Army in 1917. He lived to be over 100 years of age. Now, all of that brings us around to the carpenter's way of life. People counted it out soon after it began. Down through the years, it has continued to live and grow, despite the fact that it was supposed to die. Back in the 1960s, one of the famous Beatles singing group repeated this tale that Christianity is on the way out. For 2,000 years, men have been dooming his way to death, but it continues to live. "On this rock I will build my church, and the powers of death shall not prevail against it." You know, I'm inclined to believe that he told the truth.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
For we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, an eternal house in heaven, not built by human hands. 2 Corinthians 5:1.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the radio program Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Thanks for listening. I'm Tim with Ed, Wesley, and Fred. And we thank you for listening. Abraham Hamilton III was supposed to join us, and he may yet, but he joins us on what we call the Comrex, which is a wonderful device that we use to do interviews with a lot of folks and makes them sound like they're right here in the studio with us. And right when we were getting ready to go on the air, Abe's internet went out.
And the Comrex is internet dependent.
Duly noted.
Yeah.
So we're going to wait and see if that happens. If not, we'll have Abe on, tomorrow or another time. So, Fred, what's your next story?
We're going to talk about the bees.
Not the birds and the bees.
No.
Just the bees.
It's a family show.
Okay. Just want to make it clear.
Yes. We're going to talk about the bees because this is the time of the year. If you have a garden, like I have a blueberry bush at home, and you'll notice a lot of bees around because they go from blossom to blossom. And if you've taken some basic botany or entomology, you know that bees are very important for producing fruit and vegetables because the pollination effect.
Right.
Well, Tim, you brought to our attention a story this morning that I had not heard. Apparently, there is a parasite. Texas is very fundamental in the production of what they call pollination, bees that are used, and there's these bees sent across the country to produce vegetable crops, et cetera, et cetera. Well, apparently in Texas, a parasite has arrived from somewhere that eats the larvae of bees. And so there is a huge shortage among the honeybee people, and some of these have huge numbers of colonies, and they're losing a large portion of these colonies. So without bees, you don't get that kind of pollination, and that could have a tremendous impact on vegetable production for America this year.
Yeah, and what's called the commercial operators. In other words, there are people whose job is to keep bee colonies alive.
Yeah.
And they'll even take those bees to a particular area if there's a shortage, and then they set up the hive, and then the bees pollinate in that area. But commercial operators, I'm looking at an NBC News story, reported an average loss of 62% of their bee colonies from June to February nationwide. That is staggering.
Yeah.
And obviously it has an effect, and they're talking about a possible effect at the grocery store, because in Texas, for example, very important in terms of almonds, fruits, vegetables, other kinds of plant-based food sources. I know that here in the state of Mississippi, I think some of our listeners have heard us mention the Natchez Trace Parkway that kind of cuts through the state. And on the sides, they usually, of this parkway, very lovely, they'll mow and keep the grass cut during the course of the summer, but they wait before starting mowing until the kind of the bee season for the spring is over. So you'll see on the sides of the roads a lot of wildflowers and clover and things like that. And I know that they wait so that the bees will have something to pollinate. It's very important to our economy.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, if you don't know, it sounds like...
It took about 2 minutes to go, y'all are serious.
No, I know. It sounds like, we don't have enough bees. Let's move on to the next story. Well, okay, yeah. It does sound like it. What kind of effect could it really have? Well, the way God made things,
right?
Okay, the bees are a necessity.
Yes.
To
they're called pollinators. They pollinate.
But yes, for lack of a better word, the food ecosystem.
Well, this article says that honeybees, I'm quoting here, honeybees are the backbone of the food ecosystem that you're talking about, pollinating 75% of the world's natural supplies.
Yeah.
This is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And it's worth watching this story and see how serious it gets, because what the farmers are saying there, would you call them beekeepers and the people who the food industry who monitor that are saying that we could see, Wesley, spikes in prices because of
the loss
of the bees.
Yeah, I gotta think though that they're either in the process of or should have a parasite spray for this. I mean, they spray crops
to kill the parasite. You mean?
Kill the parasite. So
I don't know. Ed, you know anything about that?
I don't. I do know that sprays can be dangerous to the bees themselves.
Yes.
So I think they usually go for some sort of more natural avenue of attack. But I just found out about this today.
Yeah.
When I think you sent it around.
We put this story on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Put this story on our Today's Issues Facebook page. Go ahead, Fred.
The Yahoo News coverage of this quotes a Dr. Tracy Ellis, who's an entomologist. This is kind of interesting. She says you can help wherever you live in the country. if you will plant some flowering trees, shrubs, and native plants, this can help the situation because the problem hasn't apparently expanded right across the country. So you can have plants that attract honeybees, and it not only perhaps helps the situation on a more global sense, but also if there's a shortage of vegetables this fall, folks, prices are going to go up.
Right.
So if you're growing more of your own, tomatoes, whatever the case may be, that may help you down the line.
Are these now? What is killing these bees again?
It's a parasite.
Yeah.
Okay, where are they coming from? That's what next thing I want to know.
The story does not say.
Are they coming here like in a legal way? Or are they,
illegal mites?
I just want to
coming
know.
across that border, Joe Biden. No, I
probably
I have
sent
no
from
idea.
China to Mexico, across the southern border, and here they are. In
So
Texas.
now this is what Wesley feared. That
I know.
we would take a serious story and go into left field.
Don't leave two Wildmans and a Vitagliano alone if you don't want sarcasm in about 2 minutes.
Of a story that already has plenty of
That
room.
is a serious story. Okay, it is a serious story. All right, well, we'll pay attention to that and watch that and see what happens there. But yeah, it's fascinating to read about what bees do and how critical they are to nature.
Let me just say this last thing, and this is the truth. Growing up, I used to stomp bees if I saw them. Clover or whatever, you stomp them.
Sad.
Okay, yeah. My wife, after we got married, she said, no. She won't let me. She said, you don't kill bees. They're important. Because I grew up city boy. She grew up in the country. She understood a little bit more about. Now, I say that just in case she's listening. Making up for earlier sarcasm.
I think it's okay if you run into some killer bees.
That's funny.
Oh,
then it's okay to take them out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Abraham Hamilton III, host of the Hamilton Corner each afternoon from 5 to 6 o'clock Central Time on AFR, and a constitutional lawyer. Abe joins us now. The internet has been fixed, I think. Abraham, Abe, good morning to you, brother.
Good morning.
So, the internet, what, did it go out for 5 minutes or so?
I don't know what happened. I was on and then I was off and then I'm back on again.
It's kind of like life, really. Think about it, Abe. You're on, you're off, you're on again.
That's right.
And
Abe is like all of us in this studio.
Yeah.
There's lots of things we do understand.
Yeah.
But when you get too technical,
right?
I'm like with Abe. Well, it was on and then it was off and then it was on again. It was kind of like magic.
Yeah.
All right, Abe, we wanted to talk to you a couple minutes here at least about the situation. There's two judges that one in Massachusetts, one in Wisconsin, that took it upon themselves to they had well, tell us what happened in those cases.
Well, in both of those instances, you had seated state court judges who helped illegal aliens who were going to be detained for deportation. One, in the case in Boston, the individual had been twice previously deported, and the judge in Boston helped the illegal alien escape the courtroom. The same thing happened with the judge in Wisconsin, albeit in Wisconsin, the illegal alien hadn't been deported twice. He just illegally re-entered one time after having previously been deported. In both of those instances, the sitting judges, this is hard to wrap your mind around, but the sitting judges helped the illegal aliens escape the ICE agents who were in the courtroom to detain them for deportation. In both of those instances, the Boston judge, I believe the instance occurred in 2018, and the Boston judge is now facing potential removal from the bench. And then you have the Wisconsin judge.
She was the Wisconsin judge is, again, a state judge. Again, folks, you got to understand, especially the Wisconsin thing happened recently, like in the last few weeks.
Yes.
The Boston one happened a few years ago. But same thing. But what I found fascinating, maybe that's not the right word here, you have a judge in Wisconsin. Again, was this last week or the week before last?
She was arrested last week.
Okay.
She was arrested last week.
So you have a And this fella here, who the ICE is there to pick up, he's on trial for criminal acts of violence.
Yes, he's in court for a criminal offense in the U.S.
Yes, and so the judge, it sounds like something out of a Lifetime movie or something. She takes him to some escape door, in the courtroom.
Yeah, through the jury room.
Yeah, too late. So he could, and say, here, like, go, I'm releasing you. I don't want you to be captured. Like she's aiding and abetting criminal activity, and she's a judge.
Yes.
What now? She's in trouble though, right?
Yeah, she's in trouble. She was arrested, and so
the Wisconsin judge.
That's trouble.
The Wisconsin, Wisconsin judge was arrested herself and charged with what, as you described, her aiding and abetting and interrupting a legal process, which would be the deportation proceeding, facing her own federal criminal charges now in light of her efforts to help the illegal alien.
Okay, why did
escape
these two judges do this?
Yeah, were they family members? Were they good buddies?
Yeah.
No. The only thing that I can see. I mean, obviously, I'm not a mind reader or a heart reader, but the one thing you can see is that they were opposed to these two individuals being detained by ICE and deported. That's the only thing you can see, and you are not exaggerating. It's literally the Wisconsin judge creates almost like a ruse with the defense attorney to come to the bench and to help him escape the ICE agents who are waiting in the lobby. For him, and which is why she was arrested last week.
Will she be disbarred?
That is a potential thing. And one thing that's interesting in the Wisconsin case, the Wisconsin Supreme Court, on its own initiative, started proceedings to suspended her from the bench on their own. Nobody brought the issue up to them when they learned of the arrest. And this is what the liberal Supreme Court is in Wisconsin, a liberal majority. They suspended this Wisconsin judge from the bench pending her criminal trial, her criminal case proceeding on the federal charges for obstructing the ICE agents.
Okay, so the reason this is important to us, I think, it's a teaching moment, not that a lot of people didn't already know this. What these judges did here, this is the mind of the far left, okay, in this country. This is one of the main reasons Kamala Harris lost. Now, not all Democrats subscribe to this insanity, if you want, is the way I describe it. That is not having borders and not having enforcement of your immigration laws. The far left, which is probably 50% of the Democrat Party today, they don't believe in borders. Borders are, to them, immoral. They don't believe in stopping anybody from coming into our country for any reason. And that's reason when they're caught, they don't want them deported, okay, when these people are caught. And these are criminals, okay? We're talking about criminals here. We're not talking about, just somebody who's here illegally, but they haven't done any illegal activity in our country. These are people who are, and the left says, no, let them stay, don't deport them. That's really that's really, Abe, have I described the way these people think correctly?
Yeah, you have described it correctly, and it's worth underlining and highlighting the fact that the only reason why these illegal aliens were in the Boston court and the Wisconsin courtroom was because they were there for independent criminal charges that occurred in America, in addition to them entering our country illegally, both of whom had been previously deported from our country. In Boston, the illegal alien had been deported twice before, and in Wisconsin, the illegal alien had been previously deported one time.
Hey, just a quick question before we let you go. So what is the interplay here between federal and state? Okay, so we've talked about sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. They are not obligated to call federal authorities if they arrest someone in a traffic stop for a state violation. They are not obligated to cooperate with ICE, for example, and call them in if they find out that the suspect is an illegal immigrant. But in this case, you have a state agent, a judge, I guess specifically talking about the Wisconsin case here, who I guess this is obstruction of justice on a federal level. So you're not forced to cooperate with the federal government and go out of your way, but you're not allowed to restrict their access to a criminal, right?
That's exactly right. So this has nothing to do with a sanctuary jurisdiction or not a sanctuary jurisdiction. In both of these cases, the federal agents were in the courtroom, and the judges actively aided the illegal alien in evading detention by the ICE agents, thrusting themselves into the legal proceeding to thwart that legal proceeding or to obstruct that legal proceeding, which is in and of itself an additional federal crime. So this Wisconsin judge has been charged with a federal crime, regardless of her state sanctuary policy or the city sanctuary policy or not. And this is why, frankly, President Trump signed an executive order yesterday starting the process for defunding these sanctuary cities and jurisdictions. But these two instances are beyond the scope of sanctuary city or not sanctuary city. This is affirmative obstruction of federal law enforcement prerogatives, which is a separate crime.
Abe, what are you going to be talking about this afternoon on Hamilton Corner?
Well, this is something I'm definitely going to want to dig into a little bit more because the details are astounding. The judge in Boston, recognizing the criminality, voluntarily agreed to a process that could result in her removal from the bench as well, and so that is pending in Boston.
All right, Abe.
Let me mention this, Abe. I'm looking here. You also, too, if you may want to look into this one, I just found the New Mexico judge and his wife were arrested on charges for tampering with evidence linked to a suspect with a Mexican gang.
Yes, I talked about this case on the Hamilton Corner.
Okay.
This guy was actually arrested at the judge's house.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Wow.
The illegal alien was arrested at the New Mexico judge's house, and he is withdrawn from the bench
tell you what
as a
I'm
result
for.
of that arrest.
Yeah.
I'm for sending some of these judges down to El Salvador. Who's with me?
I'm with you.
Okay. We'll help them escape to El Salvador. How about that one?
Help them
As long as there's due process.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right, Abe, have a good day. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, guys.
Okay, that's Abraham Hamilton III
Internet is back up.
at his house.
Yeah, at his house.
Yeah.
Did
All right, you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network.
What'd you say?
I said I was gonna say, did y'all know about this one from New Mexico?
Yeah, because
That
that's the Tren de Aragua group. That's the gang from Venezuela.
Okay.
And they're bad dudes as well.
So that's a great idea.
The Venezuelan gang?
Yeah.
You really, if you're a judge and you were hiding one of these members out, you really just don't get your job back. This is pretty clean and obvious. I mean, I don't know what kind of trial process you need here, but
it sounds like something you hear this story and you go, surely that didn't happen.
Right.
Where in Wisconsin, this judge, she's like, come over here. Hey,
yeah,
you can go out this door.
I'll sneak you out.
I'll sneak you out. Protect
and
you
know,
from.
and what's I don't understand is that when you get caught up in the emotions of helping a friend or a family, you can sometimes do things you wouldn't otherwise do. But like, where is the connection to the judge and this criminal for her to say, "Come over here"? Like, are you just that convicted? Are you?
Well, some of these people listen. Liberalism is a mental disorder.
Yes.
And I'm not the one who came up with that. Somebody else did, Michael Savage or somebody. But and though these people, she thinks she's on a righteous mission.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
To protect this poor man who's, by the way, in her courtroom for violent criminal activity.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. And the person he beat up is sitting
there,
sitting in the court.
Yeah, and she's like, "Go on, here's $50. God bless you." I don't know if she believes in God, probably not, but you know what I'm saying.
That's
like,
the one from
just like
Massachusetts.
going, surely a judge would not facilitate.
Now we have 3 on the books for this. I wonder who. I wonder if we had anybody who funded to get them. You know what I mean?
Who funded what?
The 3 judges. Who was behind getting them elected? Are they? It's not an election.
Oh, like George Soros.
It probably depends from state to state.
Hey,
some of them are elected, and
if it's Madison or Milwaukee, they got.
It's a George.
It's
Soros funded.
Well,
but the thing is, you have Abe mentioned this in Wisconsin. You have the judicial oversight in that state going on its own initiative, going after her, and the same thing for the Massachusetts judge. She's been brought up before the judicial oversight group in that state. These actions are so egregious. You have, I'm guessing, left-leaning judicial oversight groups who are doing this on their own, they realize you cannot have. And in terms of the mentality, these judges strike me, again, this is a little on the judgmental side, okay? But I think I'm on pretty good ground here. The same kind of mentality that leads people to literally hug trees, chain themselves to trees so that lumberjacks or whoever does this, lumber companies, can't cut them down. You go, what? Why? Well, this tree has feelings. Like you said, these people believe they're on a mission from whoever they believe in, and they do really ridiculous stuff. And this goes on the list.
All right, next story, Fred.
Have you missed Kamala Harris?
You don't know, Fred.
Yeah.
I missed word salads.
Yeah. She's back.
I wish we could hear her voice again, though.
Oh, yeah.
We can.
We can?
She's got a big speech tonight in San Francisco.
Okay.
But it's going to be really late tonight. We'll all probably be in bed. So I thought it would be good to remind you to play some special moments of Kamala Harris speaking in the past.
Which could have been. This is what we could have heard every single day.
Yes.
You got her greatest hits?
Greatest hits. Cut 14.
You need to get to go. I need to be able to get where you need to go. The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. Culture is, it is a reflection of our moment and our time. Present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. See what can be, unburdened by what has been.
At least she gave us a good laugh.
That's
what does that mean? What was she trying to say there? What was the last one?
Don't look at me.
No, look.
She was you asking me to get in the mind of Kamala Harris.
Burdened by the things that haven't been.
Do you want to hear it again, Tim?
It sounds like he was inspired.
It was almost poetry.
It was not.
Listen to this. This is just.
This is poetry. It's like Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I needed this.
You need to get to go.
Yeah.
I need to be able to get where you need to go. The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. Culture is, it is a reflection of our moment and our time. Present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. See what can be, unburdened by what has been.
Well, I got to say, bless her heart, as we say down south, you could probably cherry pick me for a couple of weeks, make me sound like an idiot too, but she just had a penchant for saying things, almost every speech where you scratch your head going, what did she say right there? What does she mean?
And speeches were one thing, but when she was talking off the cuff, it was even worse.
Well, 60 Minutes is in trouble. The CBS and 60 Minutes, because there's a lawsuit filed by Trump.
That's right.
How much is it for? It's got a B for billion after it.
Yeah,
whatever he's suing them for.
Well, what he's suing them for is he said they doctored her interview prior to the election because she did such a terrible job. They doctored the interview, CBS did, to make her appear more rational and sane,
and to influence the election.
Yes, and he's right about that. If that's what happened, I hadn't seen it. I think they're guilty though, from what I've read. They're almost.
Yeah, because had they not released the original? They released the original.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
I said they released the original one prior to the edits.
Well,
out there, I've seen them.
That's in line with the media. Remember, now they're saying. They're revealing now that all of them knew about the mental decline of Biden,
right?
But tried to protect the story or hide the story because they didn't want to help Trump.
And now you hear
same thing here.
Now you hear individual reporters. We had one, I think, might have played one yesterday or sometime this week. Individual reporters who are now acting as if they were concerned about media complicity all along, when hardly anybody said anything unless you were conservative.
Almost everybody's on a team now. You're either team right or team left in this country.
Yeah.
You're on that team. You do all you can to protect your guy or your lady.
Yeah. No, that's true. There's very little bipartisanship.
She's a woman. What now? Sorry, I missed that.
It was stellar observation, and you missed it. That moment's gone forever.
I'll try to rewind the show and see if what I missed there. Bless your heart, Ed.
Oh, bless me.
Okay, we'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Abraham Hamilton III.
If you really want to see the tides turning in our country, can I challenge you and encourage you? If the Lord could grab a hold of us in our family, you would see the tide in our politics turn.
The Hamilton Quarter, weekday afternoons at 5 Central on American Family Radio.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. President Donald Trump celebrated his first 100 days in office with a rally in Michigan, where he detailed his actions so far on securing the border, strengthening the military, and returning manufacturing from China.
Nowhere has this transformation been more dramatic than our southern border. You have seen a change on your southern border that Sleepy Joe said couldn't happen. The last administration engineered a massive border invasion, allowing gangs, cartels, and terrorists to infiltrate our communities.
Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan offers his takeaways.
100 days of winning is what we've seen from President Trump and his administration. But for me, the three biggest things are the border is secure, military recruitment for our armed services is now off the chart because they believe in our leader. But maybe the most important thing, the third element, is every single federal agency now works for we the people.
Republicans are looking to make some of President Trump's spending cuts permanent.
The White House is working on a rescissions package to send to Congress. The package would include about $9 billion in spending cuts to NPR, PBS, and USAID that can be approved with a simple majority in both the House and Senate. House Republicans tell Fox News Radio they have not received the package yet and probably won't until next week or the week after.
I think it's a useful tool. It is a legal way to get it done.
Republican Congressman Mark Alford says passing a rescissions request would codify some of the executive orders the Trump administration has used to cut spending and would make it harder for Democrats to challenge those cuts in court. On Capitol Hill, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
The Supreme Court is hearing arguments today on what could be the nation's first publicly funded religious charter school in Oklahoma. The state's Republican governor, Kevin Stitt, comparing the case to Medicaid.
If there's a public benefit, you can't discriminate based on someone's religion. So in other words, you can go to a Catholic hospital, you can go to a Muslim doctor, you can go to a Christian doctor. Education shouldn't be any different.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court has suspended a judge charged with obstruction of justice. Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested after helping an illegal alien criminal evade arrest. Garrett Tenney has more.
The timing of this move to relieve Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan of her duties is notable, given that it took the state Supreme Court more than 4 days to make this decision. Also, given that the judge is facing federal charges for obstruction, which is a felony. And under Wisconsin state law, you legally can't hold public office if you've been convicted of a felony. It is also notable that the High Court did not include in its order that Judge Dugan's salary be withheld while she is on administrative leave, meaning she will continue to receive her $174,000 salary while her own court case plays out.
The Civil Rights Division at the U.S. Department of Justice, part of the weaponized federal bureaucracy under Obama and Biden, is getting a makeover under President Trump. Steve Jordahl has more.
More than 100 lawyers have quit the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department since Attorney General Pam Bondi and Civil Rights Director Harmeet Dillon have taken over. Randy Sutton, author of the Amazon bestseller Rescuing 911, says Donald Trump is finally draining the swamp.
I can tell you from being a law enforcement veteran as many years as I've been, and this is a welcome relief.
The Obama-Biden DOJ was particularly hard on law enforcement, issuing dozens of consent decrees, a binding agreement forced on police departments that require them to use burdensome and ineffective policies dictated by the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ.
Under the Biden administration, also under the Obama administration, the Department of Justice was weaponized against law enforcement. There were never so many consent decrees.
At the same time, he says the DOJ was looking the other way during some of the most violent episodes in American history.
We saw cities burn in a fashion that we've never experienced before in the aftermath of the George Floyd debacle. Well, were there any prosecutions? No, there were not.
Dillon says the new Civil Rights Division will focus on anti-Christian bias, keeping boys out of girls' spaces, and, of course, anti-Semitism. I'm Steve Chordall.
American Family News is online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
AFA Action takes attacks on the family seriously. The enemies of the family constantly employ new tactics to try to sneak past our radar. They know if we stand together, their evil plans will fail. Your gift to AFA Action allows us to stay vigilant against their onslaught. And if you give this month, you'll receive access to the Cultural Institute video When Your Faith is Illegal by Frank Harbor on AFA Stream as our thanks. You can make your gift today at afaaction.net.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network, Wednesday, April the 30th, 2025. Thanks for listening. Tim with Ed and Wesley, and now Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us. Good morning, Brother Steve.
Good morning, everybody.
How are you, sir?
I'm well.
And you're wearing my favorite of your
Paisley collection.
Thank
I like
you.
that color combination, black and kind of gold and silver.
Yeah.
Okay, I am not a New Orleans Saints fan per se.
Yeah.
It looks like it.
But I am a Derek Carr fan. He was the Raiders quarterback for a long time. Now he's quarterback at New Orleans. And I don't know. Now that you mentioned it, I'm thinking that's
It is. You do have the New Orleans Saints colors in the Paisley. And the Paisley, is that French art, sort of?
I don't know. That's
like New Orleans, like, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but I don't know the
I'm
answer.
talking art, and I'm talking to you guys. I can't explain it to you if you don't know about your artwork.
You're talking to a bunch of rubes here who don't know
history.
anything about that their art.
I found the shirt in my closet.
Well,
I'm sorry, we're not.
I don't mean to sound. I don't mean to sound highbrow. I really don't. But I mean,
hoity-toity.
I know all about it. All about artwork, and I sent my artwork to the National Day of Prayer, and they never responded back.
Yeah, that's gotta hurt.
It did.
I typed in where did Paisley come from, and the first thing that popped up was where did pasta come from?
Pasta.
But you know where
I
pasta
already know
came.
the answer to that question.
All right, well, retype that. You obviously misspelled it.
And by the way,
Did
for
you?
all you wise guys out there who, when I said I know where it comes from, implied Italy, all of you who said, no, it came from China, okay? Noodles came from China.
Right.
Pasta
noodle
came
heads.
from Italy. All right?
That's what I'm talking about.
That's
Tell
right.
him, Ed. Put
I'm
him in his
telling
place.
That's right.
Apparently, I'm getting Paisley wrong. Y'all want to try it? Go.
Well, it is a hard word to spell. P-A-S-L-E-Y.
P-A-I-S.
P-A-I-S?
L-E-Y.
Like I said.
Sorry, I should have said something about art, and you would have just jumped right on it. But
Look, P-A-I-S-L-E-Y. What does it say? Where'd it come from? What?
Well, you got two different.
I think it's French.
This is good radio right now.
Isn't
I
it?
can tell you.
Is it
Paisley
or
origin.
will not come up?
Persian.
Persian?
Oh, it's Persian
or Indian,
Yeah,
maybe.
It's got Persian origin.
Persian origin.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing that pops up on Google. You trust that every time you research something? You're gonna have.
What answer do you want? Can I
gonna
give
end
you that
You're
one?
going to end. Well, I don't know the answer.
Ancient Babylon also.
Scotland.
Is in Iraq.
Well,
that would be.
I'm
kind
very
of-
grounded
Iran,
historically
Central Asia.
and artistically.
So you're telling me that Steve looks like Nebuchadnezzar? That's what you're
Yes.
telling me. Ancient Babylon?
Needs the big.
Isn't that where Nebuchadnezzar
well,
was?
it says ancient Babylon in present-day Iraq, which would be close to
that's where Paisley.
the Persian Empire came.
I'm hoping that
to the
some
east.
handwriting doesn't appear behind me, though.
That's where the Paisley design came from.
This
is claimed to be one place of origin.
This is also where we get our complaints from our show.
Yes. You wasted 6 minutes
we
talking
didn't.
about Paisley.
Actually, we didn't. We educated people on
That's
where
right.
Paisley came from. There was a point to this discussion.
That's right.
All right, Steve, first story.
All right. I want to introduce you to a candidate in Fort Worth for city council. This lady's name is Peyton Jackson.
Paisley Jackson?
Peyton.
Peyton.
P-A-Y-T-O-N Jackson. This is a speech that she gave in front of the Fort Worth City Council 3 weeks ago, but it has just gone viral. She is a Republican, and she's black. And listen to her defend that. Cut 13.
When I first announced my run for Congress, I had this random white woman, liberal, walk up to me and ask, well, what about you isn't Democrat? To which I responded, well, besides my skin color, what about me is Democrat? And it was at that very moment that she realized that God gave her enough common sense to ask me about my values. Now, don't get me wrong, I was raised to vote Democrat down the ballot, so when I first started, I would say things like, I'm a Republican, but I'm not a conservative. But now I know all too well I am a full-fledged, hardcore conservative, and I'm proud of it. I mean, my favorite saying is I was born black, not Democrat. But in all seriousness, whenever I began to think for myself politically, the choice was easy. I mean, why would I want to belong to a party whose mission is to infringe on the Second Amendment as if a criminal would ever participate in something like a mandatory buyback? Why would I want to belong to and endorse a godless party? Because there is no such thing, and I mean no such thing as a trans child. We have confused children and sick, enabling adults. Why would I want to belong to a party that takes pride in shedding innocent blood? Number one, as if that's not what God hates. Number two, as if there's not a black market for baby organs. And number three, as if abortion clinics didn't start in the hood. Because if you think Trump is bad, you should research exactly who Margaret Sanger was.
Wow. I don't
What's
care
her name?
where she's running. I'm voting
You're
for her.
voting for her. Her name is Peyton Jackson.
Where's she?
Hey, well,
where's
let's
she
go
running?
in and
Fort Worth, Texas, for city council.
you and I can go in and rent a house just for the weekend, become citizens, vote, and then
vote. Listen, that was for those who think that conservatives are racists. I'm just speaking for myself. I think I can speak for everyone I know here who is of the white persuasion. Okay,
I was persuaded from birth, apparently.
We care about principles.
Mm-hmm.
We care about the Bible. We care about the Constitution. We care about conservative values, and we don't want our culture to go into the dustbin of history. I don't care what color skin you've got. If you're on board with those kind of things, you're my kind of people. What's her name?
Her name is Peyton Jackson.
I wouldn't mind having her on the show.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
she's running for District 8 in Texas, Fort Worth City Council. The election is May the 3rd, 2025.
Saturday.
Yep, there you go.
All right.
Hey, she's got whether she gets the position or not, now she may want to run for office on down the road, but she's got a future on radio.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a good voice.
Yeah.
And she
got a future in the Republican Party.
And she knows what she's talking about.
If we have her on, you can ask her about it.
Okay. Well, that's for someone who says down here in Mississippi, I've taken on, y'all fixing to.
Right.
And when I lived up north, you guys gonna. I'm not criticizing someone who says I'm going to axe them.
All right.
I got my own things going on. But, hey, I like that. I like that story.
Mm-hmm.
Next story.
All right. The latest chapter of the federal judges versus government saga. Remember, we've had all these federal judges in small courts imposing nationwide injunctions.
Yes.
Well, this is a little different scope. This is a federal judge, Kathleen Williams, an Obama appointee. Florida passed a law that makes it a misdemeanor for undocumented migrants or illegal migrants to enter Florida by eluding immigration officials. If you try to get in past the immigration officials, it's a misdemeanor. That doesn't seem very controversial, but Judge Kathleen Williams said no. You cannot enforce that. So she sent, and she said that the block applies to all local agencies in the whole state. Now, at first, Attorney General Altmaier sent a memo out to his state law enforcement officers telling him to stop enforcing the law because of the court order. But then 5 days later, he sent another memo saying that the judge was legally wrong and he could not prevent local police officers from enforcing the law.
This is, I'm just going to say, this is just very, very frustrating, okay, on a number of levels. First, it's the left that is creating constitutional crises all over the place, okay, because there is no constitutional reason a federal judge should be issuing an injunction on a law like that. That there is no federal, there's no federal ideals at stake here. Okay, you're allowed to create laws that criminalize, even if it's just a misdemeanor, for behavior. Okay, there's no federal issue here. Okay, and do you know why this lady judge issued the injunction?
It was not stated in the article or any articles that I could find.
I don't know where
usually an injunction like that is you're likely to lose or to win the case, depending on how.
I don't know where we're going to wind up in this country, but these it's more than just activist judges. These people they hate America. They hate America, and I don't know. I don't think Republicans have the spine to remove them through impeachment.
Oh, Governor DeSantis does if he can.
He can't remove a federal judge.
No. Well, you can't short of it. There's nothing you can do about that. That judge, he has to be impeached.
Yeah,
she, by the way.
She. But I certainly hope Florida will appeal this, and that should be overturned quickly. But these federal district judges are doing this all over the country. Congress needs to rein that in. You can do that if you pass a law saying a federal district judge cannot issue an injunction over the entire nation.
I believe the Supreme Court should be a no-brainer. Couldn't the Supreme Court instruct its lower courts to stick to your own district?
It could.
Next story.
All right. Today at the Supreme Court, we had the arguments in a case that is going to see whether or not the state of Oklahoma can put up a religious charter school, a publicly funded charter school that is a Catholic school, St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School. And they had arguments today at the Supreme Court. Now, a charter school is a public school, but it's a public school that is set apart. It has several distinctives. One distinctive is that it has its own board of directors. It's not the school; it has its own school board, basically. The other is that usually these schools are focused on a certain thing, maybe a classical education. In this case, it's a Catholic education. And the good thing about charter schools is if they fail, they fail. They close.
Right.
Instead of like public schools, which can go on failing and failing and failing forever.
That's right.
Right.
So anyway, we're going to be listening. We did listen. I don't have any clips, but we'll probably bring those tomorrow about which way the court seems to be leaning on whether or not that Oklahoma can put up a Catholic charter school.
Now, the Supreme Court over the last couple of decades, I know in 2017 they issued a ruling in favor of a Lutheran school, but the Supreme Court does seem to be trending towards this view, okay? And the view is that if a state makes funds available, generally speaking, you cannot say except for Christian schools. And I think in the case of the Lutheran school, this was applying for funds for outside this kind of rubberized surface near playground equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lutheran school said, well, if you're making that available, we would like to apply for that. And the state said, no, you can't. You're a Christian school. And the Lutheran school won that because it was a non-sectarian purpose.
Yeah.
So this one is going to be a little trickier.
It is pushing the envelope, isn't it?
Because it is applying for funds to create a charter school that is Catholic.
And which part of the mission is to evangelize its students in the Catholic faith.
Yeah, that's going to be trickier. And
but funds come from the government. Is that what I'm
Yes, the funds come from the government. To me, the only solution for these kinds of issues really is vouchers. Okay,
100%.
And you give
100%.
you give education money to every parent for their kids, depending on how many kids they have, and they can spend it any way they want.
That's right.
And if the Catholic Church here wants to set up a school,
borderline school choice, right?
yes,
Or
it would be.
yeah.
It'd be school choice. You can spend that money anywhere.
Oh, that's a slam dunk. That's a win. That's a win across the board. I don't understand how both teams aren't in favor of that.
Well, because the Democratic Party is beholden
Teacher
to
unions.
public school
Didn't you hear
unions.
Didn't you hear Kathleen? They're godless.
Oh, yeah.
Our new favorite Texas.
Yeah.
I guess
politician.
I guess I was asking a rhetorical question. I meant from an objective position. I don't understand how both people couldn't say you go wherever you want to go, I go where I want to go. Like,
Well,
everybody makes
because
a
the
choice.
left wingers don't want anybody indoctrinated with Christianity.
And they want
That's
to
what they would
continue
say.
indoctrinating kids in public schools.
Right.
Not all public schools
It's anti-Christian.
Not all,
do
yeah.
that.
Their motivation is anti-Christian.
Yes.
So if you had Muslim schools, I don't think they'd care. You know what I'm saying? Or Hindu schools.
Or if
I don't
you
think they'd
teach,
care, but
or
just-
if you
they
have,
just don't want 'em-
yeah, or if you have drag queen story hours or anything like that, no problem. And or
See, that'd stop that in a heartbeat.
yeah.
Right.
If parents went in to talk to the principal, now they talk to them. They go, "Well, sorry, the drag queens exist, and we're having drag queen story hour." But if the parent said, "Fine, I'll take my money somewhere else," then the principal has to go, "Oh, wait a second.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
we really
think
want
you
to
ought-
provoke
I
parents?"
think true school choice to me is you ought to be able to deduct if you pay taxes and it goes towards public education, which we all do.
That's right.
Then if you have a child who you want to send to a private or Christian school, then you ought to be able to take that off your taxes.
Right. Yeah.
I don't
Well, the
even-
only problem is that there is a substantial percentage of people in this country who don't wind up paying taxes because they don't make enough. You'd still want them to be able to.
Well,
send
here's
their
what I'm
kids.
saying. Here's where I get that from. If you're going to tell me that a child costs a certain amount of money,
right,
to educate annually in your government school, your public school, just say, okay, well then, if that's true, that I'm going to have to pay $3,000 out of my checkbook to pay for public education, and I want to send my child to a private school or a Christian school, I should be able to take that amount of money and apply it to that form of education. That's true school choice, in my opinion. Do you understand what I'm saying
Yeah.
here? Now, maybe some states might, but a lot of people fight back against that. Oh, you're hurting public education. I don't see how are you hurting public education if you're only taking the money that would have otherwise gone to
public education
to support my child. You tell me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, next story, Steve.
All right. Let's see what I have up next. Oh, there's a new game in Washington, D.C. among the press. It is called Trump Trolling or Trump Truthing. And the press corps was at it, playing this game with Caroline Levitt
Can
yesterday.
you, by the way, explain to some of our listeners who might not know what trolling means?
Trolling means if you say something and you're trying to get a reaction out of people, you don't really mean it. You're just kind of poking at them.
Poking the bear.
Yeah.
You want to get a rise out of them.
Right.
You want to see them. You want to see somebody get upset and then laugh about it.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Have I expounded on that?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well done. Well, this is podcaster Brendan Dilley, and he is asking Caroline Levitt about if she wants to play this game. Cut 3.
I was wondering if you'd indulge me in a quick round of Trump trolling or Trump truthing.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, good.
Love it.
Rapid fire. Greenland joining America.
Definitely Trump truthing.
Canada becoming a 51st state.
Trump truthing all the way. And the Canadians would benefit greatly, let me tell you that.
Eliminating the IRS.
I think that is an optimistic goal, and the president, so I would say we're on the side of truthing there for sure, and the president, again, wants to see tax cuts, and he wants to see this massive revenue that we can gain from tariffs as well, which will create the external revenue service, so that's a definitive goal for sure.
And most importantly, Trump 2028.
Trump trolling, although the hats are flying off the shelves.
Well, listen, I don't believe for a minute. First of all, her job is to protect the administration, put things in a light that is beneficial to the Trump administration. I personally think that Canada becoming the 51st state and Greenland becoming a part of the U.S., I think those are trolling. But she can't say that.
So she was trolling
because
saying she was true.
Yes, because I think Trump. Now on Greenland, I might go half and half. I think if he could make that happen, he would.
Do you know excuse me for interrupting. I was looking at, there's only 50,000 citizens?
Yeah, and they all live on the
Greenland?
coast.
We can take them.
Yeah, we could take them, yeah.
Oh, all they got is a few fishing boats to come at us.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
We could.
Yeah.
Send a submarine in there, take it over.
But I think she's forced to say he's
Why?
Truthing all the way.
Well,
because he's still kind of he has to be the one to say, look, I'm just kidding about Canada becoming the 51st.
That's
state.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well,
why does he say that?
Hold on. Let's move on to the
MAGA.
last one.
Come on, MAGA, bring it.
What about the last one when she laughed and said that's obviously trolling?
He's not going to run for a
fourth term. No, she wasn't talking about everything he just listed.
Yeah.
She was saying he's trolling when he says he's going to run for president again.
Yeah, I know. And he is trolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your point?
The
well,
point
she can say he's trolling there, and he's
Yeah.
still saying, why can't she say he's trolling with Canada?
Because it's illegal. I mean, you can't. The Constitution forbids it. So she's probably safe in saying he's just kidding. He
can't run again. You can't be president 3 times.
Right.
Baltimore 2 times.
Right.
You can't be elected 3 times. You can.
So why did you say wait a minute?
Or 4.
Why did you say wait a minute?
The reason I said wait a minute is because I think that she did say that he's trolling because that's such an obvious one.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, but Ed's saying she wasn't. She said Trump is serious about taking over Canada and Greenland.
No, I don't.
What?
I don't think,
what did I say wrong?
I don't.
No, it's just funny the way you put it. But that is what I think he's saying Canada should voluntarily become.
No, he's got plans.
But it's never going to happen. That's
why he's sending those fighter jets up to Michigan. You notice that? You think that's coincidental?
I think you're trolling now.
I think there's more strategy to him saying Canada's the 51st.
40 chess, Wesley.
40
chess, my friend.
I think there's more strategy to that than saying that he can become president in 2028. I think that's a loser. I think there's some cards to be played with Greenland being the 52nd state.
I do think with Greenland, he would like the United States to own Greenland so that we could have access to a lot of their natural resources.
Which is why I just
buildings.
said
I don't
think
I don't fault him for trying for that.
It's also strategic militarily.
I don't fault him for saying that.
So is she wrong for saying truthing?
No, she's right, and I agree with. I think the taking over Manitoba and Saskatchewan and Ottawa. I don't think that's.
No, but it's.
I think that is ridiculous to even talk in those terms, making Canada our 51st.
That's why I think he's trolling. I will.
You said he's being truthful.
Yeah, I would agree with you on
2
Greenland.
for 3.
That's why I said it may be 50-50. If Greenland wanted to become a part of the United States, Trump would say yes.
Let me
Canada,
throw this in real quickly. we're all talking, the media's all talking about whether Canada's become the 51st state, and they're not talking about the Department of Education going away. Do you think it's a distraction?
Well, that's the first I heard of that, and you gave us 30 seconds.
I will say that
tomorrow.
Trump is very smart in that way about deflection and doing something over here. And in that sense, sometimes
It's
it is
kind of like
chess.
taking over Canada is kind of like changing the Gulf to Gulf of America.
Yeah, but he actually did.
He actually did that.
I know, but it's the same type. You go, what? Wait.
Yeah.
Can't do that. Now, of course, he did do that too. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for more of today's issues. Have a great day.